What is good, everybody? What is good? Listen, man, you already know where you are. It's the Bluebloods. Your host Zach McKinnell, man, joined by my co-host Coach Leroy Frederick. Coach, you got to center yourself a little bit, man. You off to the side right now.
Snap. There
There
we
we
go.
go. Let's get you in
I wasn't
screen,
paying attention. My bad.
Coach. We've missed 2 weeks here, man. We were all on point week zero, man, and then the season started, and my job and moving and you and your job got in the way of us getting back to a weekly show, man. But we're back. We're going to be much more consistent moving forward again. But coach, we've missed a lot. But first, man, how we doing?
Doing great, man. Great Thursday. Uh, Thursday before a travel day. Always good. Had a good bounce at practice, man. Just looking to relax here the rest of the day, man, and talk some blue bloods, baby.
A big trip to Starkville this weekend, Coach. I want to get your thoughts, and I don't really want to break down the game. We know what the money game is in HBCU FCS football because there's been a lot of talk about money games in HBCU football and whether they're worth it. And there's two sides of the aisle, and we had a big debate on HBCU Nightly about it. Josh and the guys did a really good opening monologue about it. On one hand, there's a side coach that says we should never play these money games. The injuries, the injuries aren't worth the money. It's just not worth it, right? The perception of your program, it hurts recruiting, it does this and that. The other side of it is we need the money, and then also too, you're not any more at risk at injury, coach, playing an out of conference FCS school than you are an FBS school. The injuries are still at the end of the day, it's football. And then the other side is too, coach, let's just be honest. Grambling goes and plays Ohio State for $1 million last week. Coach, there was not a single player in that stadium that was considering Grambling that changed their mind based on what happened to Ohio State. You're not competing for the same caliber of players against those programs. As a coach from your side, what are your thoughts on HBCU money games?
I think you have to be really strategic in planning those games. Um, I don't think, and I say this lightly, I don't think the SEC is the matchup for the money games. Um, and I think, me and you kind of discussed it offline. It starts out as $1 million, but if they're not paying for flights, if they're not paying for meals, if they're not paying for hotels, uh, yeah, it sounds good $1 million, but you're not clearing $1 million. You're not even clearing anywhere close to $1 million, right? Um, I think it was A&T. How many kids did they lose in that Central Florida game? You
Three
know,
quarterbacks.
you know. Uh, so the risk and the reward, I think the matchups have to be looked at and have to go into consideration. Now, what you said, recruiting wise, we ain't after the same people. Uh, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's just facts. But I think the matchups have got to be strategic. The money's got to be well above and beyond something that you do. It's not for us to go and play LSU, 2.5 hour ride, 2 hour ride for 300,000. The risk does not equal the reward for us in that situation. So I think you just have to be strategic and smart about it, and understand what you're putting your program as the higher ups. They've got to understand what they're putting their program at risk or in harm's way when they consider these type of games.
And like you said too, I don't think all money games are the same, right? I think
Right.
we all agree that like playing Ohio State, playing South Carolina, someone like that is not the same as PV going to play Rice this weekend.
No.
And it's not the same as Jackson playing Southern Miss or whatever game. But I think there's levels, and I think to be fair, man, I've been a little bit disappointed in the competitiveness of some of these G5 games as well. Especially because, coach, I look across the FCS, coach, if Long Island can get an FBS win, Long Island University can beat Eastern Michigan, you're telling me we still can't get an FBS win in this space? Like, come on, man. There's not a school in the SWAC or MEAC that I think outside of maybe like 3 or 4 that would lose to Long Island. Maybe. And that's a big maybe. Bryant gets an FBS win. So it's not like is just the, top dogs that everyone mentions getting these FBS wins, coach. Like, there are teams that aren't very good in the FCS, like St. Francis got a win last year because 'cause they're gonna be D3
Right.
year. So I have not been super impressed with the competitiveness, and I would like to see that change, but also to the other side of it too, coaches, these games are big for draft stock. I know there's some people that downplay it and say, "Oh, that's obviously, that's not the only factor that matters," but those games are massive for prospects in NFL draft stock, and if you say otherwise, you just don't really get it, and you really haven't been in the room. Because coach, you've talked to scouts, I've talked to scouts, we've been in those rooms. That's the first film they turn on. When they're looking at, let's just say, Stamarian Edwards, coach, they're not going to watch him play Southern. You know what they're gonna go watch? They're gonna go watch the Mississippi State film this weekend.
Yep.
First tape they pick. And so that's the other side is if you take away some of these money games, coach, I think you're really, really you're already at a disadvantage in the NFL draft regardless being an FCS HBCU program, but you just compound that with now you have literally your strength of schedule is already not great, and now you take away the best opportunity to go against some of the top talent in the country. Coach, one of the other things we missed, and I know you're a little bit close to the situation because you work for him now. Craig McNair will now be calling the plays at Southern. Mark Frederick demoted to he's still going to be on the staff, from what I'm told, but he's not going to be calling the plays anymore. Coach, I want to get your perspective on this. One, your thoughts on the move, but two, what are the dynamics behind the scene as a staff, man? Because as much as, yeah, you might be happy for yourself that you get to call plays, you still have a relationship with the other guy on the staff, right? So Fred and Mark Fredericks have a relationship, so it's kind of like a bittersweet thing where you don't wanna see your guy get demoted and be in this turmoil, and obviously the team's not performing well if you make a move like this. What is it like behind the scenes when stuff like this happens?
It's really tough. And the thing I know both of those guys, right? Um, I actually know all three of those guys. I know Coach Graves, I know Coach Frederick, and I know Coach McNair. So I'm going to speak from all three's perspective overall. So, and I'll start with Coach Graves. So, he's got to have a real tough conversation with someone or the man in the mirror, right? The person he sees every day. And he comes to this conclusion. And I don't know if when he comes to this conclusion, if he factors in all of the fallout, right? Because he's been a part of this as far as the only coach to ever win on both sides of the Bayou Classic, things like that. But there's so many questions that I have for him, and we got to try to get him on the show after the season to see if he'll give us the behind the curtains thing. But B, you've got to think about A, your team, B, the rest of the guys you meet with every day as a staff, and then just the overall outside perception. Now, he's not going to care about the overall outside perception, but the team. Now, I've got to figure out if I make this move, how am I going to make sure those guys, those kids that we look at each and every day, understand that this is a move to move us up, not backwards, not confuse anybody. How do we make this play? And I guess he figured out how to make it play. But speaking from Coach Frederick's point of view, and this is just me, I don't know if this is him, this is just me. I don't know if I want to be in the building. You know what I mean? Because now I'm looked at a little differently as to these other weeks since camp. I've been telling these guys, hey man, we just gotta trust, we gotta buy in, this is gonna be what it is, this is gonna work. And now you've went and told the nation that it didn't work and you're moving on from me, but I'm still in the building. I don't know how that works. And if I'm Coach Frederick, I've gotta be like, I don't know, man. You know what I mean? And then from Coach McNair's standpoint, this is me, not him, I hadn't talked to him. If I'm him, B, correct me if I'm wrong, I'll ask everybody in the chat. If I'm him, I don't know if I take this.
You would just turn down the opportunity to be the play caller?
I don't know if I take this. And here's
Hmm.
why. Here's why. Everybody says it can't get any worse. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Now, if Coach Frederick still in the building. And then this is just me now. This is not Blue. This is not anybody. You know, what's that disclaimer they say?
Yeah, the thoughts and opinions of Coach Leroy Frederick are not that of the Blue Bloods.
Yeah. So I want to put that out there, right? If Coach Frederick decides to show up to practice every day and smoke cigars and not give a helping hand, this does get worse. You know what I mean? This does get worse. Um, Coach McNair, what is his handle on the playbook? What is his handle on all of the nuances within the offense? You know what I mean? What is his terminology to not just the quarterbacks who he's coaching? Yeah, those guys have got to be very important, but to the whole offense. How am I able, when we get there to Fresno, how am I able to make sure that, okay, off of play one, I want to make sure the spinoff is this. If he doesn't have a whole handle on that playbook, then you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
here's the other thing of it, B. If you're saying you want to be a head coach again, right? And this, one of the wheels have already fallen off. You're driving on a donut, right? If you have another flat on top of another flat, what's going to be the perception of that? From
Yeah.
outside entities that were even thinking about, hey, let's call him in for an interview. Or, hey, something happens and Graves wants to move on, Coach Graves wants to move on, and this gets worse. Now, do the people in SU's camp say, hey, let's give it an opportunity, or they say, whoa, this thing went way lower than we thought it could go, and move on the list? So all three of them have really, really tough things to work out. And then B, man, this ain't a bye week now.
Yeah.
This
He's gonna
didn't
play
happen in a
Fresno
bye
State.
week. Yeah, this didn't happen in a bye week. You know what I mean? So I can only imagine, and I don't know if they practice in the morning and the afternoons, but I can only imagine how that staff meeting went, how that uneasiness spread throughout that building. I can only imagine how that went, man, or how that's going.
Well, luckily they do have a bye week next week, which is good. But coach, they got Jackson after that as
Boombox.
well, and so I'm wondering. Okay, so this is why I would be worried if I was McNair, coach. I look at their schedule and what's coming up. I don't know how Graves makes it out of this year with a job. I don't, and I mean they were one possession away from coach potentially being 0-4 because they're going to lose to Fresno State this weekend. They're going to, and then if you're one in, let's say you lose to Jackson and Fresno, you're 1-4 going on the road to Bethune Cookman, who's also going to be extremely desperate for a win because their coach is probably coaching for his job as well. Then after
On the
that,
road.
you get PV, not going to be a cupcake game. You get FAM, who also could be desperate to save their head coach's job, depending on how their season turns out. Then you get back-to-back road trips, UAPB and Alcorn, both going to be hungry for a win there. And then you end with Texas Southern, who's you've had problems with recently. And then you end with obviously the Bayou Classic and Grambling, who's going to be who is looking to kind of turn that game around. Coach, I don't know what the win total he has to get to, but based on what I've seen so far with this team, there's a bunch of there's more losses upcoming for this team. I don't know how Graves makes it out with this job. And so if you're McNair, and we kind of talked about this offline, if you're not going to be a guy on the short list for the job, what am I really doing here?
And that goes back to Coach Mark, right? You don't get demoted in this situation and then come December get, put back in that position or remain on staff. So right now, what is his thought process? Because right now, if it's me, I'm saying, shit, I'm marking days, excuse my language, I'm marking days off the calendar like, okay, okay, And then you're going to get to a point on that calendar where those days were here or now here. So what's going to be his motivation to really go above and beyond? Because again, we still don't know what involvement he's going to have. Is he still coaching a position? Is he still in the building? That kind of thing. So it's one of those deals where awkward is an understatement.
Awkward's the word.
It's an understatement.
To kind of put a bow on this, because you've been around McNair, and someone even asked in the chat, when's the last time he called plays? Because at Alcorn, he always had a pretty good OC. So it's been a while.
Yeah, because when they all came here, he came as a quarterback coach, and Coach Simmons was the OC. And then when he became the head coach, Coach Geis, Coach Stanchek, Coach Radden, Coach Phillips were the guys. So maybe 2011?
Yeah. It's just been a long time. So do you, and I want to ask you this, and we're going to move on. One, how different do you think his scheme is going to be compared to Frederick's? And two, even if it is supposed to be very different, how many changes can you make mid-season?
Well, I don't think it's any different. I don't think it's his system. I mean, B, you've been around football, man. You've spent all spring in this playbook. You've spent all camp in this playbook. And you spent, 3 weeks in this playbook. And now you're heading into basically, week 4, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's not a bye week. How much can you change? How much can you install that's yours? So that's why I feel like, the move, I guess it had to be made, but, Coach Graves felt like it had to be made, but I don't know if a bye week's enough time to really install what it is he wants to run to where he understands it, because it's not Blues playbook, it's my playbook. So,
and I got a call out of it.
How does that work? What does that look like?
And you're still missing your starting quarterback, by the way, just to throw that out there.
Dice game.
I mean, it's a no-win scenario. I mean, really and truly, because this thing could get out of hand very, very quickly. Coach, I felt there's some sneaky games on this Week 3 HBCU slate, but there's a lot of money games, a lot of D2 games. I'll kick this one off because this was one that popped up, and then we'll break down some more. Upset alert this week. I'll give you one because the Reddit FCS guys do a good job of getting spreads out for all the FCS games every week. Coach, they had Albany State as a 6.5 point favorite over FAM this weekend.
Yeah, I heard that, and I didn't believe it when I heard that, right? And then I had to go and check for myself.
It was legit too.
I don't know what they know that, whatever, but man, can you imagine the fallout from that one?
I mean, look at the different storylines from it. Obviously, they haven't played well. They've already lost to Howard, which was a game that they needed to win. Didn't look good in their FBS game already. So they're sitting at 0-2. You're talking about going down to 0-3 with a Division II loss, who is coached by the guy you passed over for the job in Quinn Gray, who a lot of FAMU fans wanted, who thought that he should have gotten the shot.
Really big time alum.
And then the last time with a better Willie Simmons coach team, Albany State kept this game close last time these two teams played.
Man, look here.
Is there any chance, Coach, Albany State pulls it off?
I gotta say no, and I know those guys over there, but I gotta say no just because of some of the reasons you just said, right? But the biggest reason is that I gotta believe that they're gonna fight for Coach Cozy, right? And then at the end of the day, it still is a home game for them. It's going to be a really big atmosphere, I think, and it may be too big of an atmosphere for Albany State kids. And Coach Gray's going to have a really, really good hold on them because they're going to be really excited about this, especially hearing you're the favorite. So you got to understand now those kids are going to come in and they may be trying to do a little too much to hold up to it. I got to believe this doesn't happen. But if it did, we'd be right back here with a whole other story.
I don't know if Colsey loses this game, I don't know if he makes it to Monday.
I gotta believe with you on that one.
I don't know. Well, there's also political factors behind the scene with the questionable president hire and just there's a lot going on in the behind the scenes of FAMU. So maybe he does make it because if you lose this game, coaching from now onward, you're just a dead man walking.
You got to be perfect. If he loses this game, you've got to be perfect.
Coach, I don't even know if he loses this game, if he wins the SWAC, is it going to be a contingent of FAMU fans that still want him gone?
Oh, ain't no doubt. Ain't no doubt.
I mean, you lost to Howard and Albany State to start the season, and I'm with Jared Hoffman here, man. I was curious, Coach. So I went and watched last week's game. I think it was Kentucky State, where they got a quarterback, man, that is just he's a gamer, man. Isaiah Knowles. The kid is legit, man. He's got almost 500 passing yards this year, Coach. 7 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 150 on the ground. Man, the kid can ball, and I'm very interested to see how the FAMU defense handles him. I want to say they're missing their top edge rusher too, Westmoreland. I'm really surprised at how bad FAMU's looked right now. I had them third in the West, Coach. The East, my bad. I had them third in the East. I had them behind Bama State and Jackson, but I'm looking right now, and based on what I've seen, it wouldn't surprise me if they finished behind Alabama A&M either, with what we've seen.
Yeah, I could see that, but then I could also see them getting hot and giving it a run. But this one is going to be really important for a whole bunch of reasons. Outside of the SWAC, this one's going to be very important for a whole bunch of reasons.
The SWAC also needs this win, by the way, too, like really bad. The out of conference play for the SWAC this year is like at an all-time low, and I didn't think it could get any worse.
Yeah, we really need this one.
I mean, I want to say the SWAC has won, Coach, less FCS out of conference, less Division I out of conference games than the Pioneer League this year, which doesn't have scholarships.
Yeah, this one, we need this one. Ain't no doubt. We need this one.
A must win, almost there. Coach, is there anybody else on the slate that you think could be on upset alert this week across HBCU football? So it could be the Independents, it could be the MEAC, the SWAC, anybody that catches your eye here.
I don't know. Would Tennessee State be a upset over A&M?
Okay, so I don't know what the spread for that game is off the top of my head, but I would imagine Alabama A&M is probably going to be the favorite there. So I think that would be an upset if Tennessee State pulled that one off.
I could see that. I could see that one, and that's about it, B.
Yeah, the rest of them might be blowouts.
I'm looking
one way or the other. Can I really throw a wrench into this show real quick? I don't think so. This is the SWAC team putting someone on upset alert. So it's a little flip from what people thought this segment was going to be. Coach, I think Texas Southern has a really good shot at beating Lamar this weekend.
Ooh, really?
That would be a top 25 win for the SWAC. The week after Lamar just knocked off number 4 South Dakota. And let me break it down for you because I know your heart's like, I don't know what you're looking at, Blue. But hear me out. Coach, at the end of the game last week, Lamar's quarterback got knocked out of the game, and he's out this weekend. So they're without their starting quarterback. You're coming off a very, very emotional, historic win. You got to go on the road to a very motivated Texas Southern team that played well at times against Cal last week and really and truly had how many opportunities to win that PV game week 1, and Lamar struggled against Texas Southern last year without KJ Cooper, coach. He's back. He's healthy. Texas Southern's going to be at full strength. I think Texas Southern might have Lamar on upset alert this weekend.
Let me circle that one, man. You almost sold me right there.
Hey, keep it on your schedule. I don't know if I would lean Texas Southern right now just because Coach Lamar's offense was already not very good. And now you have a kid who hasn't played starting. Now, I will say Aiden McCowan is the son of Josh McCowan, former NFL quarterback. So he's got, the lineage to be a good quarterback. But, Coach, your first start on the road against Texas Southern, and like Carlos said, with your starting quarterback last week, you only put up 204 yards of total offense.
And on the road at Texas Southern is a tough place to play just because of the
energy.
Yeah, man. You really got to
Not
bring
the
your
fans.
own.
It's the lack of fans.
Yeah, you really got to bring your own, man. It's a tough place to play. So if they come in sleepwalking, I can see exactly what you're talking about. It's a tough place to play, man.
And you've talked about it on the show. How hard is it to get your team locked back in after you knock off the number 4 team in the country?
It's
at
tough,
home.
man. It's tough. It's tough. You're still dealing with young kids. Everybody's still feeling themselves. You've had that week to get ready, but it depends on what kind of week they've had. If they've had a week to where they've had to constantly tell Joe, hey man, you ain't as good as you think you are. You ain't arrived yet. If they've had to do that all week, it could be a long start to the game because at this point, those kids are going to come out and they're thinking the other player's just going to lay down and give it to them. And then, it takes you getting hit in the mouth to understand, okay, yeah, we got to go. We got to play. So, the maturity of the team, we'll see.
Coach, okay, let's go through these SWAT games real quick. We'll just make quick picks, man, before we get into the power rankings because I know you got stuff to do today, Coach. Tuskegee, Jackson, any chance Jackson doesn't pull this one off? I think Jackson wins this one convincingly. I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, I think they pull away. They're a much deeper team, but I hope Coach James, a guy I had on the show, a good friend of mine, I hope they can keep it competitive. But I just think, Jackson's just a little too deep, a little too big for him.
Coach, you can't make a pick here. You're on the coaching staff. No offense. I got to go with the Bulldogs this weekend with Mississippi State.
I can't believe you, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm a bad co-host, but yeah, let's get the money, get home healthy, Coach, and let's get into SWAC play. Miles, Alabama State, Coach. We saw Miles pull off the upset a few years ago because this has been a different team with Andrew Body healthy at quarterback. The defense looked much better last week. I think this is a blowout for Bama State. I don't think Miles keeps this one close.
Well, this is one of those games again, though. I mean, they just had a big win versus SU. So what kind of week of practice did they have? Are they going to come out sleepwalking, give Miles a chance to get out ahead on them, or are they going to actually, come out and try to end this game early? So this one kind of falls under what you said, but I'm with you. This is not the Miles of a few years ago, so we'll see.
Coach, PV Rice, any chance we get an FBS upset here?
No.
Going with Rice here. I want to come back to PV in just a minute. Coach, Arkansas Pine Bluff, Lincoln of California. This is probably the one win for UAPB this year. I'm going to go with the Golden Lions.
Yeah, got to go with that one.
Kentucky State Grambling. I think this is another blowout here. I actually kind of like how TSET's been playing. It was Ohio State. As long as they didn't get banged up too bad in that game, I think Grambling's going to win this one convincingly. But if there's some undisclosed injuries, man, maybe Kentucky State can make it interesting early.
Yeah, and again, you're talking about a team coming from a Big 12 matchup, like you said. How beat up are they? How banged and bruised everyone there is. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get off to a fast start.
We already kind of broke down Lamar, Texas Southern, Albany State, FAMU, Southern Fresno. Coach, the last one before we get into the two competitive SWAC games, Mississippi Valley State, Southeastern Louisiana. Go ahead.
Let's see, T-Buck. Let's see. I mean, They almost pulled off that versus SU.
Yeah.
Not so good last week, but the Southern. I think the Southern game showed some promise. Now, to me, it's one of those deals of just kind of seeing, was that just a first initial from the team, or Southern was sleepwalking, whatever you want to call it, or has Coach Buck put some fight in them and actually have some pieces to kind of get things done. But Towson was a tough game.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I don't see this one happening.
Yeah, it's another tough game, blowout. The two competitive games here, Coach. We kind of briefly hit this one. I'll get your pick. Alabama A&M, Tennessee State in Nashville. What are your thoughts on this one? I think this one's actually going to be a very, very competitive game, and I think this could set either team's season on a different trajectory depending on the result.
Oh, definitely, and I think it's one that's going to come down to, as all games, who doesn't turn it over, and quarterback play. The Brown kid played pretty good against us. Um, we'll see what Tennessee State does to get him out of rhythm and see how that goes. But does Bama A&M travel with a purpose, or are they just kind of getting through till we get to league play? And what kind of statement is TSU trying to make, at home? So I got to go with TSU.
Okay, I'm flipping it on you, man. I'm going A&M. I just think where
Okay.
this game falls apart is I like Tennessee State's defense, but I think Quad Brown, man, and the type of athlete he is, he's just going to make a handful of plays, coach, on the road to get them up over the top. And also, too, I think if A&M can get to about, I would say, 28 plus points, I just don't know if Tennessee State's offense is built to be able to score with them. If it gets into a shootout, kind of like y'all had last week with them, Tennessee State does not have the offense to keep up with that. And so I think for Tennessee State to win, they're going to have to keep this low scoring. They're going to have to run the ball, dominate time possession. But I like A&M, and I do think their defense has improved slightly, coach, just because of the presence of Sam Shade bringing in a few key pieces. And I think they're better overall coach defensively this year. So I like that one. Coach, an underrated game here. Bethune-Cookman at South Carolina State. Any chance to fight in Raymond Woody's get this one done in Orangeburg?
Man, if he does, what a shot in the arm for that program. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Um, it's one of those programs, like we talked about, has been hyped up in the off season with all the signees, and then when you get there, you're like, well, what happened to this guy they got? What happened to that guy they got? My thing is, I don't know if they can pull this off, but I don't think the Fighting Woodies can get boat raced in this. If they get boat raced in this, I think the heat gets just a little bit harder in Daytona. It's already hot down there in Florida, but I think it gets a little bit warmer if they get boat raced in there.
Coach, this might come as a surprise to some people. I think there might be an argument that South Carolina State has the best defense in HBCU football right now.
My God, DC, I
Bro,
coached
they
that
are.
kid.
Go watch the film of both the Wofford and the South Carolina game. That defense balled out, man. I mean, I'm so impressed. But I think it's Michael Luntz, number 11 for that defense, coach. 4.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks already in the season. And this is a team, coach. They play South Carolina, right? We talk about money games and what that does. They're holding teams to almost less than 3 yards per carry right now, coach. And they're still holding teams under 100 passing yards per game.
My
And
boy
they play South
O'Daffer.
Carolina.
Yeah, my boy O'Daffer doing a great
Man,
job, man.
I really, really, I think and I maybe, and I'll admit when I'm wrong on this show, I think I wildly underrated what South Carolina State could be. And I don't know why I questioned our guy, Coach O'Daffer over there, man, but he reloaded on that defense, man. They got some playmakers over there. And I'm really, really hot. I'm really, really excited to see how high they can go this year.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, give me South Carolina State this week, Coach. I mean, the rest of these MEAC matchups are just stop me if you're picking anybody other than the MEAC team here. Morehouse Howard, Bowie State, Delaware State.
Oh, oh. You know
It
what? I
coming off
can't
a big
say.
win against you, Albany.
High, high, high. Now you're going to come back, or are you going to say, you know what, we've done what we needed to do. We've shown Coach Jackson can actually coach a little bit, and we come out and take these guys lightly.
I'm still going to go Delaware State, but we'll
Okay.
see. We'll see. Fayetteville State, North Carolina Central. And then the two FBS matchups, you have Norfolk State going to Rutgers. That's going to be a bloodbath. But then we got Morgan State, Toledo. Any chance Damon Wilson can pull that one off or make it close?
Defensively, they will play ball. We know that.
Always.
Yeah.
But
And
offensively, it's
offensively,
50-50 shot.
dice game.
Oh, man. And then the independents, we already kind of hit on Tennessee State here. Listen, you have Hampton, North Carolina A&T. Who wins the battle of the independents here?
I got to go Hamp just because of what A&T lost.
Okay. Yeah, they're going to be playing me and you at quarterback this weekend, Coach. So I need you to get that Mississippi State game over with and meet me in Hampton, and we're gonna start tossing the rock around. So, I'm with you. I think Hampton wins this one big. A&T is one already wasn't a great team, but then Coach, you lose all those players, and it only compounds what we already know about that team. Coach, to end the show, after week 2, man, we're going to do an HBCU top 5 power ranking. And again, this is power ranking, which means it's week to week, which doesn't mean necessarily resume or nothing like that. And there's no projection in this. Coach, you're not going to give yours because, like we talked about, everyone's going to freak out. So I'll just let you react to mine. After week 2, Coach, at number 5, I have Alabama A&M. Number 4, I have North Carolina Central. Number 3, I have South Carolina State.
I already know who's in your top 2. I already know one of them. Now I just want to see
Go
what
ahead.
the order is.
Bama State at 2, Jackson at 1.
Okay.
And I took your advice here. Until the champs are knocked off, it's kind of hard not to have Jackson at 1.
That's true.
But, and I'll break down the rest because Jackson at 1 kind of makes sense. I am a little bit, the only thing I'm worried about with Jackson, Coach, and it's still early, so I'm not off the bus here, but I would say I'm a little bit worried about their passing attack right now with all the weapons they brought in, because you got probably, I think it's unquestioned, probably the best wide receiving core in HBCU football, just pure talent on paper. But, Coach, there's been no passing attack whatsoever in 2 games, one of which I know Hampton had, I believe, one of the top secondaries in the country a year ago, but Jacobian just hasn't looked like he's connecting with those new pieces yet. I really do want to see this weekend against Tuskegee. Just, Coach, it's an overmatched opponent. We can't take much from it, but just let them air it out and get that confidence up. Just get a few throws in them. Let them build some chemistry. That way it translates when you go up against Southern the next week. To me, that would be the strategy. It's just let them air it out against an overmatched Tuskegee secondary. I know they're a run-first team. Gotta get 15's confidence up, because I think if he plays better, Coach, you're really going to see Jackson's full potential, because they can run the football, man, with anybody. You saw them last week against Southern Miss run the football, and I just want to see them get 15 in a rhythm, man.
Right. I'm with you. Makes
and
sense.
Then Bama State's obvious. I think they obviously look like the most impressive team against an FBS school. Coach, the people who tried to play down Andrew Body's performance, I don't know what yes, UAB is not great, but Coach, you played UAB last year. 400 yards is 400 yards.
Yeah, I don't care who
against them. And he's made some great throws over the past 2 weeks. I think the defense played better last week against Southern. Now, it was a Southern offense that's not very good, so I'm still kind of wait and see on the defense. They were missing some starters. Also, number 3, South Carolina State. I think they're the best team in the MEAC. I think they had a big win over Wofford. The defense has been balling. They played well against South Carolina, so I didn't see another MEAC team. Central would have been higher, Coach, but you can't lose to New Hampshire the way you did. And that's what dropped them for me. I think Bama State looked just as impressive against Southern as Central, so that's why Bama State's above them too. And then, man, number 5, Coach, I'll be honest, I don't know if anybody really deserved number 5 right now. I'm still, like, the jury's still out on everybody past, like, those top 4 for me.
So did you put the Fighting Deshaun Jacksons as an honorable mention?
Yeah, they would probably be like 6 or 7 for me. The
Shout
only
out to them
reason,
guys, man.
Yes, what a performance. The only reason I didn't put him in the top 5 yet, coach, is because in the preseason, you go look at my CAA rankings, I wasn't very high on UAlbany. And so I don't know if
What's
like it's
actually
a
going on there?
yeah,
That's
what's
not the
actually
same
going
U
on there.
Albany program. Not taking anything
I
away from them,
yeah,
but that's
for
not
sure.
the same U Albany from the past. I think what we go back three seasons.
Yeah.
They've been decimated by the portal, um, transfers, graduation, things like that. Again, no excuse, and definitely not taken away from Delaware's win, Delaware State's win. But I think when people saw that, they were thinking the Jared versus and things like that, and those kids aren't there anymore for you, Albany.
No. And the other thing too, coach, with Delaware State, I do want to give them credit for this. That like what was it, a 2-3 hour rain delay? To keep your kids locked in with 2 minutes left, knowing you needed a game winning drive.
Yeah,
And a
crazy.
round of applause to that coaching staff. And I'll admit when I'm wrong again. I thought Norfolk was going to be more prepared to be good quicker. It has not been the case. Delaware State and Deshaun Jackson, the energy on the sideline. But coach, when they won that game, you saw all the kids chase him around the field and celebrate with him. Like he's got that team locked in with him. And he looks comfortable on the sidelines. He looks confident.
He's
Listen,
got them believing.
uh,
He does
on
have
the
them
other side,
believing.
I don't want to take a shot at Vic, and I'm not taking a shot at Vic, but this is just my observation. Coach, he looks uncomfortable on the sideline. He looks like he doesn't belong. He doesn't look like he's comfortable in press conferences.
Right.
On top of that, and coach, I I don't know why picking a starting quarterback for some of these schools in the MEAC and SWAC are so hard. Otto Coons has outplayed Izzy for 2 straight weeks, and every single time you hear Vic, he's like, "Yeah, but Izzy's athleticism, we got to give him a shot." It's like, how many games are you going to lose because you won't just start the better quarterback?
I think he's trying to prime him up for conference play, and that would be my only thing. Like, but you're really hurting yourself when you're getting closer to conference play if you're not going to go with the guy that's actually moving you, putting up numbers, putting up stats, that kind of thing, and that the team is actually playing behind, really rallying behind.
I'll be curious to see what they look like in conference play. I'll just say that. And coach, HBCU Go released their top 5, and we're going to end it with this. And the reason I wanted to bring this up, and that's why I said I'd get back to PV, their top 5 was Jackson, Bama State, South Carolina State, PV, and Delaware State.
PV can't
Coach,
be in there, can they?
coach, they lost to UTRGV.
I'm saying they can't be at home. Like they can't be in there, can they?
They are going to go down in history as the first Division 1 win ever for that program. Like,
That's tough.
coach, this program just launched.
Right, that's tough. And that's why I'm
How
like,
do you,
PV can't be in there, can they?
yeah, how do you have them at 4? And listen, I was one of the ones that's high on PV, and I still think they could win the West potentially. But coach, I mean, you can't have them in the top 5 right now. Not coming off a loss to UTRGV, when Alabama A&M got a good win over Alcorn, when Delaware State beat UAlbany, when I mean, there's so many teams that that in my mind would come before them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they can't be in there just for that fact alone. It was a home game. Maybe if it's a road game, okay, maybe you bypass that or whatever. But I, to me, again, and that's their list. But
Yeah.
like we said before, to me, again, when you do things like that, when you add teams like that, it takes away from the credibility of said list. You know, um, it just kind of like you kind of went through that thing and just kind of wrote down real fast from the preseason list, things like that. Hey, it's still early. Let's just go this, and this. When you really have teams out there that have jumped out and had a good start to the season. So I don't think they should be there, but again, it's not my list. And, let's go HBCU go, man. We got to get better now. Let's go.
It's only week 2, so maybe it'll
Way
improve. But
too
man,
early.
yeah, man, we really gotta we got to start winning some out of conference games. Like that's the biggest thing, man. We like as someone in the SWAC media, like man, like some of the games that the SWAC has lost this year and out of conference play has just been atrocious this year, and we really got to start correcting that. We got to get some wins, coach. And then the last question here: which team needs to avoid hitting the panic button? Even with the bad start, we're 2.5 weeks. We'll count week 0 as a half week. Which team should avoid hitting the panic button just yet?
One that we can't say because they've already hit it. They've broke glass in case of emergency. So we can't say that. Other than the obvious. So we won't say that.
I got y'all. I'll talk about y'all. You're good. I'll get you off the hook.
So I won't say that. But you know, and it's going to sound crazy because they're on our side. But whatever happens this weekend, I don't think Coach Dishman and those guys should break in case of emergency. They shouldn't break glass. They've got the guy that's been really good for them, even though they had that stumble, like you said. They had umpteen million chances to win that opening game. How many times did the ball hit the guy blocking for the punt returner, and PV gifted the ball, whatever. So they've done some things right early. They've been on the right side of the injury bug. So you gotta stay the course. So I would go with them.
I really like what Quentin said in the chat. Shout out to Q. He said every team in the West. Just don't hit the panic button if you're in the West. Because at the end of the day, man, there's a chance, coach, the West champion wins it at 6-6.
And I'm okay with that. You got to be in it to win it, right?
Or 7-5. 7-5 might be more accurate, because I'm thinking here, just because of out of conference games, a lot of these teams have D2 games, and so 6-6 would mean you lose probably too many conference games. So it's probably 7-5 is probably where it would be.
Got to be in it to win it. So I mean, I'm all right with that. You know what I
mean? That conference race is going to be so interesting, man, because I still think even though some of the top teams have had struggles, you look at Southern, like you talked about, you guys didn't look great the first 2 weeks of the season. UAPB is not in it. We'll exclude them. PV knocking off Texas Southern. Grambling's played Langston and Ohio State, so who knows what the hell they are. We didn't learn a single thing from either of those games, and we're probably not going to learn one this week against Kentucky State, so we still won't know what Grambling is. But if I said any of those teams won the West, I don't think anybody in the chat nor either of us would be like, how did they win the West? The only team in the West that would win the West that would have us all confused is UAPB. If everybody else wins the West, and I told y'all it happened, everyone would be like, yeah, I can probably see it. Probably meant this happened or this happened. You could justify it. UAPB is the only one, in my opinion. So I think the whole West, put the panic button aside until you lose that first or second West game, and then you can crush the you can crush the panic button, because that's when you got to panic.
Then you got to start looking for help and everything else.
Oh, well, we'll see, man. Well, guys, we really appreciate y'all, man. This was a more unconventional pick-em show, man. We just wanted to get back and talk about some of the different storylines that have happened recently. And so we really appreciate y'all tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe as always. And again, the YouTube show will be way more HBCU focused. If you want more FCS content, you can find me and Timothy on the Bluebloods. You can find me co-hosting with Craig Haley and Sam Herder. That's why I told Coach, man, we want to cover some FCS on YouTube, but I'm already doing 6 shows a week on FCS, and I can't talk anymore about that. I would just repeat myself. So we're going to do a lot more HBCU content on YouTube. Me and Coach will be back early next week with the week 3 recap, and then come back later next week with the week 4 preview, man. So make sure to stay tuned for that. But for Coach Fred, myself, the Bluebloods, FCS Football Central on SI, we out for right now.